A man doesn't really become a man until he actually starts to question everything around him. And the difference between a man and a male is a male lives life very directionless. He doesn't have any guidance. He walks, cross-footed, always tripping over shit, always falling into ditches that he probably knows he shouldn't, but he still does. You see, a man is able to set direction, set guidance, lead himself. But that transition between becoming from a male to a man starts when a man begins to question everything around him, which means himself. Many of you have not taken the time to actually question or believe why you believe in what you believe in. You've taken a lot of the things that you've learned and made it your reality and made it circumstance. You see, we're in a society, especially in the West, where men are seen as, oppressive, manipulative. If you're an actual man who walks in authority, you are a threat to society. You are a threat to everything that's been built. But this transition only happens when you stop letting society define who you're going to be and you start defining who you're going to be, right? One thing that I see, with the average man plays very reactive to life. And this puts him in situations where things are happening to him instead of things are happening for him. He never has a good story where something good happened for him. It's always about something that happened to him. And, to be able to transcend yourself and go into the highest version of yourself, you have to be able to transcend those average man or average male beliefs that every man carries in this society. I don't care who you are. We all carry it, especially here in the West. That is something that you're going to have to learn how to mitigate, deal with, and detach from, because we've all been programmed to think a certain way and to see manhood a certain way. We're in a society that, tells men that you only can be strong, which is very performative. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you feeling like if you're seen as weak, you're a bitch. You know what I mean? You're shamed if you're an actual man who can lead. Women will still tell you ain't enough. But leadership is distinct. Are you leading based off of who you are? Or are you leading based off of what you have? Many men make that mistake. That is the way the average male thinks. That is the way the male thinks, and we've all dealt with that. We've all deal with it, or we're all dealing with it. That is something that I had to learn, very young. Why do I believe in what I believe in? And you know why not question, is this actually true, or is this just one side of reality, right? Because ultimately our thoughts and our word shapes our reality. So I began to question, my faith, why I believe in the religion I believe in. And you know what? It led to one of the biggest transformations of my life. If you guys know me on this channel, I read the scriptures, I keep the scriptures, I keep the word, but I move from a position of power and authority, as the scripture says. I was a Catholic and I questioned my whole religion, and I went against the grain, I went against my culture, I went against, my family. And it was a very, rocky ride, but it really made me into a man, because when you're seen as someone who thinks for themselves, you're admired, but you're also feared. And that's something that, living in this society, being an ambitious man, that you are gonna get a lot of is misunderstanding. A lot of you may feel misunderstood. You may feel that you're too much to handle. And it is true, you're too much to handle for the wrong people, for the wrong crowd, for this society. But there's people there out there like you, other men like you, that think like you and are willing to grow with you and build with you. But if you have the average man, the average male mindset, where they're like, well, this dude ain't shit and this dude ain't that, and you always so fucking negative. Yeah, of course you're gonna attract exactly what you think, and your mind is gonna reaffirm that story to you. Yeah, this is exactly who you are. This is exactly why you get certain people in your life, we're going to reaffirm this story to ourselves. And that's on an identity level. Whatever you look for, you will find. And if you have the not even the mentality but the outlook of, I'm only around people that don't understand me, people that think I'm too much, people that say my standards or make them uncomfortable, fuck them. Because that's what it is to be in this Western society. If you're an actual man and you actually stand in what you believe in, and you know what you believe in, which is the first quest or first mission you have to accomplish in manhood, you are a threat. You are a threat, and you are going to be setting your reality rather than playing reactive to your reality. We do not have time as ambitious men to, like, fucking be dealing with limiting beliefs and fucking negativity and thinking about what we can't do, what we lack. We only have time to think about what we can do, what we have, and how to be grateful for that and content with that during a certain season of life that we're in. But it all starts when you begin to question who you are, what you believe in, why you believe it. Have you learned from the culture that you come from? I come from a Mexican culture. I even started questioning all of that. Why is our culture so degenerate, so hypersexualized? What is the purpose of that? And these are things that you have to ask yourself as a man. In America, why are things the way they are? Because supposedly they want to do the best for us, but their actions don't show that. But it only starts when you begin to question yourself. Then you look at society, then you look at the women around you, then you look at your friends around you, right? I had to sit with myself and really ask myself, am I aligned the way I want to be? And, back when I was a kid, really, a boy, really coming into my manhood, um, I didn't have the understanding of it like I do now, but I did do it. I did sit down and question everything. That's one of my defining traits as a kid that my mom would always say. You ask so many questions. Yeah, because I want to know. Knowledge is power, wisdom is understanding, you know? So, this is really a video to implore you to understand and accept that if you really want to embody being a man, I'm not talking about just knowing that you're a man. I'm talking about embodying being a man, especially a man of power, especially a man of authority. It takes time to ask yourself the right questions so you could reflect and figure out who you really are. That way you could start aligning your word, your actions, and your spirit all together. And when you're able to move in alignment, things like discipline do not exist. All discipline is self-correction, but in the world, discipline is this metric of being perfect. That shit does not exist. Oh, I'm super disciplined, and bro, I don't give a fuck about that. How aligned are you? Oh well, brother, I'm just trying to make money right now. Shut the fuck up then. Like, I ain't trying to hear that shit. You could make however much money you want. You could have whatever lifestyle you want. But at the end of the day, are you actually going after what you want in this life? Or do you allow your reality or other people's reality to hold you back? You see, I had a detailing business. I've mentioned this before on this channel. I had to let go of that so this door could open, so I could walk into this version of myself, so that way I could be on camera and actually speak my mind and voice my opinions and voice my perspectives. But that wouldn't have happened if I kept lying to myself about the detailing business. If I kept telling myself, well, first, I'll make the detailing business, I'll start making money, and then, I'll go into making content, and then I'll start a coaching program. I said to myself, wait, fuck it. I'm not, this is a lost cost already. Might as well just go into making content now, build up my platform, and start, doing what I want to do versus doing what I think is right, what I've been taught by others. And I let go of it. And since then, it's been almost a year to almost around this day that I let go of that detailing business. And it was one of the greatest decisions that I've ever made, because the Most High closed one door and opened another one. And it was within a week. Within a week, I promise you. But it all started when I began to question what I believe in, why I believe in it. Even the way, like, even I've come to this realization recently Most people have a good mindset. The problem is they cannot sustain a good mindset because they cannot sustain who they are. You know, when you're the best version of yourself, you could sustain a good mindset. But when you feel like shit and you feel shitty about yourself, that's when most people lose a mindset. The problem is that most people do not have the capacity, right? They do not have the capacity to hold a good mindset. So mindset, transformation, that's fucking bullshit. That's bullshit. What you really need is self-recognition. What you really need is nervous system regulation. What you really need is nervous system capacity. What you really need is the ability to handle pressure without collapsing. What you really need is alignment instead of discipline. This all started when I began to question everything that I was taught, especially in the men's self-improvement space. This is a space where many bitter ass men will put their own limiting beliefs on you instead of you deciding what you want out of your life and playing life on offense rather than defense. It's like there's this it's good for men to voice their perspectives and build their own platform. I'm grateful for that, for every man who's done that for me, for every man's video that I watch. But a lot of men do not deserve a platform, straight up. And some of you may say, well, what makes you qualified? Nothing. Nothing. That's the good point. That's the good part. You don't have to be qualified to do shit. That's the greatness about this society. There's no excuses. So you could look within yourself and say, okay, what do I need? Well, shit, I think I got good perspectives. Let me bet on myself. Let me bet on the gifts the Most High gave me. You see? So, this is something to reflect on today. This is something to really look within. Who are you? Who are you? It always comes back to this question. Who are you? What do you value? What do you believe? And are your actions actually matching who you believe you are? That's the only way discipline becomes easy, which is really doing whatever the fuck you want to do. I'm sorry, like there's a lot of men that think they need to suffer in life and dug that shit out, and I gotta go through multiple heartbreaks, or I gotta go through the trenches. But if I could avoid that shit, why not? If you could avoid temptation, why would you want to be in temptation? Why even deal with that altogether? A lot of men, they have this character development mindset. You're going to build character along the way of going after what you want, but it'll be a lot easier to go after what you want instead of building a life you never wanted in the first place and then realizing later, shit, I still ain't shit. I still ain't shit. It's much more courageous and ballsy to go after what you want in life, not what reality wants for you, not what society wants for you, and cultivate your own reality, cultivate your own life, then fucking just listen to what everybody else says. You're already ambitious, you're already competent, you already have shown signs of that, you know? But let's not lie that there's not a part of you that lies to himself. There's a part of you that hasn't actually taken the time to be still, to actually understand himself, to actually reflect, to actually question, why do I believe in what I believe in? Like for example, a lot of men think that all women are bad, all women ain't shit, dating ain't shit. Isn't that the exact same way that women talk about men? But you're shit, you're great, but then you project all that negativity to the woman. It's the same way a average male projects his negativity to a business. Oh well, it's just fear and you're lying to yourself. It's fear and you're lying to yourself and you're projecting that shit. It's much better to say, I am afraid, but I'm going to put my best foot forward to go after what I want, to make sure I actually know what type of woman I'm looking for. If I exist, why can't she exist either? If a man like me exists, why can't I find like-minded friends instead of saying to myself, all I could find are guys who ain't shit? Well, you know what that tells you, brother? You ain't shit. And you think that. Or all you could think about is you're going to find men that ain't shit. Yeah, your mind is going to tell you exactly what you want to hear, what exactly you're looking for. So you could sob to yourself, oh, see, I can't find anybody. And that reaffirms the bitterness. And that's what a lot of men on this self-improvement space, this space have done is push bitterness and limiting beliefs on you that quite frankly, it's time for you to start questioning.